This is the John Hallett Podcast with John Hallett.
Because the way we're living, we need to change it, make it change today.
We all learn from failure. Maybe they just wanted it a little bit more than you. That's probably the fact.
And now your host, John Hallett.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Thanks for joining me today. I've got Josh in the studio as always. Hope you guys are doing great. It's been a good week here at rmsdf training. Always a pleasure helping getting people better and more prepared for whatever may happen out there in the world. Get them fit. Somebody called me anti-human and a fascist. I think that was fantastic. I think that's my highlight of the week. I really feel good about that because I'm just trying to get people better. If you think being comfortable and sitting on the couch is how you want to be, great, but I don't think it's the best thing for you. Doing something every day. I was listening to a neurobiologist, and again, hearing it again from another person. The facts, the science are, if you're just exercising, you're going to improve your brain function. You're going to be better long term. If you want to deny that, that's fine. People deny science all the time. I think fact and science is way better than your feelings, and you just want to, I know the ice cream is good. I know it is. It takes a lot sometimes when the kids have ice cream or something like that. And, having a treat here and there is something, we should all do because life is short. But, man, it is a slippery slope. I'm also going to create a GoFundMe so I can open up a Krispy Kreme's Donuts because I feel like that is going to be a whole lot easier than getting people in the door, especially if I'm going to be called a fascist in there. But I think every gym owner can relate. Getting people to change their lifestyle is not an easy thing. Man, but you're addicted to sugar and all sorts of other crap. The fast food and what they're putting in it, I think that might have been easier. Those guys are basically drug dealers, guys. They're just dealing drugs. I'm dealing a happy life. Be clean. Was doing some training. She's an HR executive, and they had an analogy of, you're putting little pebbles every day into that vase and the water levels coming up and up. What are you doing over time? It's all that little things, guys. You just got to put the first pebble in there to bring that water level up. So get in there, do something. I'm going to bring on Josh because I could probably talk more on my wife always.
Yeah. Well, she's a great person. So
yeah, she makes me better.
Absolutely.
Makes me better. That's why I love her.
So you think they're drug dealers, huh? You think some of those fast
food... gosh. Like now, geez. Well, you call us drug dealers. We're trying to make a living. Yeah. I think there's a lot of crap out there. Yeah. And it's just unfortunate because it's causing health problems. Like, look at it, guys. Look at the data. It's causing health problems. And as I was saying to my buddy Andrew over at Action Firearms, free plug for Andrew, let him know I sent you in there, John Hallett from Rocky Mountain Self-Defense and Fitness, and if you're in the Douglas County area, and I'm sure you could order online. He's also got a Florida location.
And he's a nice person.
Man, we were talking yesterday a little bit about here and there, and I'm like, here's another thing my wife says, if you're going to get your oil changed in your car. People do that stuff. They take they rotate their tires. You're like, oh no, my tires, it's unsafe. But they don't do things for themselves.
No. There's people that don't do stuff for their own cars, dude. What are you talking about?
Well, there's that too. I mean, there is that too. I mean, I'm gonna run around on ball tires, and I'm gonna roll the dice in Vegas. That I'm not gonna, get caught in a rainstorm or need to hit the brakes. But why should I be on the same insurance?
You are. That's a whole different story.
Well, that's not fair.
Yeah.
No, if you're unfit, why should my insurance rates go up to cover you? I am trying to put in the work.
Wow, that would we'd be creating like groups of people at that point, the fit versus the unfit.
That'd be fascist.
Is
it fair?
Fascist?
I mean, there's a lot of people out there. It's not fair, and
Nothing's
Is it
fair.
fair? I mean, yeah. I mean, I said like life's not fair all the time, and that's
Yeah.
what we're stuck with. But
That's
when
why
you
he
really
trains
look
me.
at it, there's been these health problems. Everybody in the system's covering for it, and then you wonder why products. If you're out there and you have it through your employer, you're very lucky being self-employed. It is a giant chunk of change
Oh my
every
gosh.
month,
Insuring yourself when you
but
work for yourself?
it's still driving up the cost of a product.
I've heard people in hospitals make the same arguments you do. It's not just insurance, but like with healthcare, right? They think to themselves, why are we spending these, they call them like medical hours or whatever, working on people who have no desire to make their situation better, whether that be health or
Yeah.
something like that. And then they're the ones that soak up all of the healthcare time because
Yeah,
they're the
we're
ones that
gonna-
need the most help, right? But their costs are the same. And I don't know if we ever get to a place like that. That would be I don't know.
Yeah,
There
I
are
mean,
some
hey,
insu-
I mean, I'm all for helping people out, and
Yeah.
you're stuck in a bad spot, and whatever. As a community, as a country, helping somebody out of a bad spot that lost their job or they don't have health care for whatever reason. But it's when people start to sponge off the system where, at a certain point, we got to draw the line. There's people that can do something and be productive. They feel better. My wife being an HR executive, there's guys that are in companies and however they're disabled, whether they're military veterans, whatever it is, they feel a whole ton better about themselves because they're doing something. I go
Yeah.
back to my aunt had Down syndromes and she went to work. She felt productive. She felt like her sisters, that she was out there going to work and doing things. And she had different jobs from grocery stores to, I think she worked in a little factory. I forget exactly. I was pretty darn young.
Yeah.
Doing things, but she felt productive. But these guys are going to lose their medical if they work too much.
Yeah.
But I serve my country and I'm disabled in some degree. But I'm going to lose that if I work more.
Which doesn't
You
make
get
any
those
sense.
people, and then you get people like, how do I work less? Which I think they need to do something. Like, if you're disabled in some way, can't you just jump on a computer and do something?
I don't know. I'm not a
Well, I'm pretty sure they're on the internet commenting on all sorts of stuff. I mean, and then there's there's the disabled, right? Like different. But if there's something and I'm like, this is how I classify it. If you can type on a keyboard and pick up a phone, we have a job for you.
Yeah.
You could work for me. Like
We're salespeople
can-
too.
There's plenty of things to do online. You
Yeah.
can learn web development. There's a ton. You could answer customer service emails. There's a ton you could do. So I don't think, people sponging off the system for that long
Right.
is acceptable. But,
happens.
today's episode, we kind of go back and forth. And if you guys want to hear my top 25 list for kind of chilling out, I call it my bourbon mix.
You have
and
that?
again, kids. Josh, I have everything. No.
You have that ready. Good for you. I didn't think you could actually 520.
I don't have it organized because you never gave me the go, and that's I have to look at
Oh.
like I just have a mix. I have to, and it's probably got hey Spotify, why can't I drag songs in my list? It just goes in when you throw it in that spot when you throw it into that playlist. But this pot we might do that. I think we probably will, but we'd love to hear from you guys. Comment.
Yeah.
And hey, don't forget to give us a review. But I understand Joe Rogan, I
Yeah.
mean, people say things about this and that, and there's a zillion ways to. That can oh man, you're like, it's always tough to hear negative things, but it's good. But I'm sick of politicians, and I keep, I'm doing this mock thing of like, hey, I'd run for president. Do something is what my wife says. Like, what are you gonna do? And like, she doesn't really like to talk about some of these things, and I'm like, man, guys, we have to talk about it. It's just too much from the grid. If we don't get a chance to talk about
the
it
grid
today,
one.
grid down, power up. Just go to them in person. I keep it like, we need the George Washington, and we need you out. Do your job and get out. These career politicians, I'm sick of them. Both sides, they're just running for re-election.
All the
and they're
time.
just caught up that like you're their watch.
Right.
And there's just different things. And again, I think I'm a guy in the middle, and it's just crazy out there that again, I'm sorry guys, the far left is going to the there's no place in this. I don't know what the motive is behind this, but it has nothing to do with adult my choice. I want to tattoo my face, I want to put piercings in, I want to get a sex change as an adult. That's an adult decision. Go ahead and whoever you, but man, do what makes you happy. As long as you're not hurting kids, you're not.
Allegedly.
And I know you got some
Allegedly.
questions for me, but this goes through my head just a ton. I mean, it is such. I mean, share this, guys, with me. If you guys think, hey, maybe this guy's onto something. I think we need somebody that's not a politician, that's not an elitist, not a crazy narcissist. That the powers to be, if you can shut down something like the Epstein thing, and the list to be too, like, what was the court document, and to people like they're just nameless. They're not named. You've got this. I don't even know if it was a pardon, whatever that was, but and the co-conspirators is the word. Like to be nameless, nameless. Like who are those people that have that much power? That I think you're a piece of freaking trash. That you're doing something with an underage girl. You're a piece of trash.
Oh, yeah.
I don't care what company, who you are. You're a piece of trash, and we should take you out like the trash.
Allegedly. I got your back.
Allegedly?
I'm just in the habit of saying allegedly after
Allegedly.
everything.
Allegedly they did it. There's people that did it. I don't know who they are because
There
they're
were people in the books. Well, allegedly. Sorry, we're just covering our legal bases there.
Yeah, allegedly. I don't know these things. I'm
But
just
people
going
that
off
might
what I
do
hear.
something like that, oh, dude, I have no sympathy whatsoever. That's
Yeah,
why
if
they
you
don't put
did
them in
that-
general pop when you go to prison, because even prisoners know what you did was wrong.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of those guys. They have family, and you touched a kid. Like, ooh,
Oh, yeah.
like they don't like you because you're a piece of trash. Like they may have
I knew a
done
guy-
whatever that ended them up in prison, and it's like God. I mean, there's so much we need to take care of in this country, from protecting our borders. It's crazy.
Oh, dude,
and all of any of you saying it, like every country, that's what makes it a country. And you're a racist. I just had one of our members say my family called me a racist, and he's like, "Look at me. How can I be racist? They're coming in over the border illegally. You're illegal,
lawbreakers.
and you're draining the system, and from drugs to guys that are just doing illegal activity to the person that's going to bring in a dirty bomb, or they're going to mess with our grid in another way.
Some of the latest
Man, we've got to protect our border. We've got to protect our kids. We've got to protect our environment. We need to balance the budget here. Like, they're writing checks. I can't do that in my business. I mean, goodness. I mean,
Write $1 trillion check today. Do it. See what happens.
Like-
You think they'll cash it?
it's crazy that our government isn't held to a higher standard like businesses, or you're going to go out and like bailing out businesses.
Right.
Like,
Picking and choosing the winners. That last bank bailout was like, did a bunch of millionaires just get money because they were donors to the DNC?
yeah,
Were
I
they?
mean,
I don't
this
know.
stuff, they're just in there too long. I was telling my daughter, it's like if you're famous for too long, your reality
Changes.
is just totally changes. Or if you have enough money and you don't have to work, that's going to change your reality over time, that you're not with the common person. That's what I was telling, like, volunteering, doing something would be fantastic if you had that amount of time.
Right.
Like do something. I practiced martial arts with John Hines way
Cool.
back when on Nantucket, and he had two very wealthy parents. He was a blacksmith and did things like you would never know. He didn't need to work. Like he did stuff. Like it keeps you connected to the common person. It's just crazy out there. I think our politicians, I think they're all crazy. Some of them are good. I don't know what to think, but I think we need to clean this stuff up before we go. Like, people just want to bury their head in their sands. They don't want to talk about it. We need to. I mean, they're stuck into social media. It's disheartening.
It's driving you crazy lately, too, because you've been all over this stuff, and it's like...
Yeah, I mean, running a business is hard enough, but then you look and, like, where are our kids going to be? Where's the country going to be? We need to fix something. Right. The U.S. dollar's being devalued across
the world,
the globe. Guys, wake up. Yeah. And the narrative, I just think we need to fix things, and the government is dividing people. I don't think there's a lot of black politicians that are doing the inner cities any favors. Like, we clean that stuff up, get the liquor stores out. I mean, you just look at some basic things like that. Well, there's a liquor store in every corner, but people can't get to food or whatever it may be easily. Like, clean up the cities, and they're making money. And some of them have been out there for a long ass time. I'm like, what are they really doing?
Right.
Besides dividing people. We're all people. And if you don't think that, if you're like, well, I'm white, whatever, I mean, guys, we're all human. Right. Like the far right, any of those guys, I'm like, man, I don't have any time for you either, because we're all human beings at the end of the day. Just get over it. Like,
do you remember when the 80s,
crazy.
There used to be what they called liberal Republicans and conservative Democrats? Those existed.
Yeah.
Pre-88.
Yeah, and that's where I feel like I'm in the middle. And, I don't know. What questions you got for me, Josh? Like,
sure.
Well,
first off, what do you think of RFK Jr.?
RFK Jr. don't know enough. And again, he's a career politician, so
I'm
kind of done with all of it.
Yeah, he's been anti-vax and all that stuff. I think he's a real contender for the DNC ticket, whether they like it or not.
Yeah, and I mean, right. I'd take anybody over.
Well, sure. So let's say we're at a debate, right? And then let's say you were running for president a little bit, and someone asked you about, let's just say, food, or school food choice, right? Those kind of ones.
School food choice. What's the choice?
So have you seen the kind of foods that high school kids, junior high kids get when they go to the cafeteria, right? And you look at it, and it's just not nutritionally, it's not there.
Well, a lot of them have been subbed out to fast food places.
So that's what ends up happening, right? So
you
even when I went to high school,
about fast food.
I got Chick-fil-A and Domino's Pizza every day. I didn't know any better, right? Because that's what was available.
Yeah.
So when you give these kids... Here's a question for you. When you've got the choice between the fast food that's being supplemented into our schools and the really crappy government cheese food that they produce, that they give you, what would you do to make that better, right? Nutrition and reading are the keys to every school, period.
Yeah.
They'll tell you that. So what's your stance on that? What would you do about school food choice?
I mean, it's going to be a slow grind here, but it goes back to... Can communities have gardens? Can they do other things? Can we produce some of our own food here? I know, like, land's a premium, but why? Like, and it goes back to sometimes you're like, what are we teaching these kids? I just saw one somebody sent me of, like, the sex ed class. I'm like, whoa. I'm like, well, this is kind of half pornography here. I mean, there's no pictures or anything, but I'm like, oh my gosh. Kids can't even freaking balance a freaking checkbook here. Why aren't we doing some community garden? Why aren't these kids learning to raise some chickens?
Yeah.
And again, it takes a lot, but towns and communities could be a little bit more self-sustaining, which would help if there was another global pandemic, the grid, whatever, that the communities were creating something and it was starting at the school level, that we could be raising vegetables and doing other things.
And
I
then
mean, I
eating
think
them.
that would be my start there, but that's obviously going to take some time. So, what I tell people on a budget is just try to eat as clean as you can. Try to eat like even, just pick up some deli meat. It's better than a lot, but some of those deli meats are really, they're salted, whatever may be going on to preserve those. But just try to eat as clean as you can. So let's just try to clean it up with what we can. And, again, I'm not anti fast food and them being it, but clean it up. Let's get some government regulation of like, hey, you need to clean this crap up. We're going to, carbon emissions and making the car companies more responsible. Why don't we make the fast food places more responsible of going, maybe you need to lower the sugar content. What else are you doing in there? Clean it up.
Interesting.
And slow, it would be obviously a process that is going to take a little bit of time, but the kids are learning something productive. I'm all for recess, obviously. I'm a big fitness person, but hey, get them out, and they're taking care of the cows. There's some stuff that would be valuable for these kids to learn, and it's like buying your kid a puppy and the kid raising it and training it. It's giving them some responsibility and some life building skills right there. So that's off the top of my head. So.
Yeah. And he was not prepped for these questions. I am throwing stuff at him because I want to see what John comes up with, because that's half of what we do. So the next one, let's talk about carbon emissions and electric vehicles. So if you were running for president, Mr. Candidate, what is your view on the current push to go completely electric for all vehicles after 2030? I think for a lot of states, there might be a national law that drives that future, and it's zero emissions. And what is your stance with the, let's say I don't want to say the environmental companies because it doesn't matter. Let's just go with your stance on the change to electric vehicles.
I don't support it. I think we need to be balanced, but again, it's power is power. Where are the batteries coming from? Is that sourced in the United States?
Oh, most likely not. We don't have enough of the...
But do we have oil?
Sure do.
So why are we being dependent on China, who is buying up these lithium mines?
All over the world.
Why are we doing something that's like totally bought into China? What's the narrative, guys, here? Why are we becoming dependent on these people? We already owe them enough money. Why are we now having to look to get our batteries for everything from cars? I think there should be a balance. I think there's give and take. It's kind of like, occasionally I'm going to have some pizza and some cake, and donuts are really good, but there's got to be a balance here, and that's not a 50-50 balance. I'm not exactly sure what the balance on that one should be. But there's some scientists that can help us. But, I'm always like, find the right people and put them in the seats. Another thing from my wife, like, get the right people in the right seats. Not just because they're your friend or whatever, that they're being appointed to this commission. Let's look at it. But I think just being dependent on a foreign country for our transportation is a mistake. We don't have long-term studies of what this mining is going to do to us. And again, there's other things. We're still charging these. How are we charging them, Josh?
Usually you plug it into the power plant by virtue of a outlet in your house, right?
So
to the grid.
We're still getting power from somewhere.
Correct.
Right? We still got to do something.
Usually carbon fueled power plants,
Yep.
like coal, because we've illegalized.
And if we can lessen it, then fantastic.
nuclear.
Like anything we can do to lessen that, but I think it's a mistake. Can we clean up?
So my piggyback question is: are you open to alternative clean vehicles like hydrogen?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, if we can come up with something like hydrogen, that would be phenomenal, right? Like, why aren't we researching this and we're just jumping all in?
On electric.
Seems like somebody's like, we're all in, and we don't know the long-term effects, but we're going to be all in. We're going to change all of these plants over to electric, and we're going to stop producing these things. Well, what happens if? that's where I feel like we need to be balanced. And there's actually, let me find it on the Sean Ryan show.
Yeah.
Here it is. Solbere, Solbere, a scientific solution to the carbon footprint. Now, I just started listening to this. Is the guy's name George Baker? But they've been studying this for 23 years. It's a way to spray trees or plants. They originally trying to protect plants from drying out and burning, from the crops burning. But it's also like, he was saying, like, I'm only like 10 minutes in, if that. I started listening to it in my cold plunge this morning. It's like the next day that they're consuming more CO2. So
plant?
I'm like, hey, I mean, I'm just into it just a minute again. So, I mean, something for you guys to go out there and research, like, hey, can we be doing other things like this that's going to lower that?
Right.
But jumping all in, we're all in, and then you're like, wait, that was a mistake. We got to reverse it.
It feels
I think
like
trying to balance things out.
So do you think it's a gift to the electric car companies? Because that's what it felt like to me. That's my total take on it.
That the politicians are giving a total take.
Like it's a total gift to the electric car companies. Like
Yeah, I want to know who you're invested in.
So who's the alternative? What if battery powered cars are not the answer? Because Mazda's got this amazing hydrogen car engine that they're putting out. The exhaust is water vapor.
Yeah, that's phenomenal,
dude. And you get the same kind of power as you would in a gas engine, but zero emissions. But only takes 5 minutes to fill up instead of waiting 50 minutes for a charge.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
I don't know.
We need to be open-minded here, but I feel like the country has gone not everybody has gone all in, and we're gonna mandate the car companies. We're gonna do this, and I'm like, well, wait, hold on a second. Mazda's got this. Why aren't we open-minded? Let new things in, and be willing to change, but we're not going to change because we're fully invested. And by invested, there's people with big money that put money into these car companies, to these batteries, and they don't want to lose their investment. And I'm like, again,
it's like the government's picking winner and choosers.
Yep.
Or winners and losers.
Yeah.
Or winners and choosers.
I'm not for it. And again, somebody's going to snipe me.
Don't say that, first and foremost.
I mean, I'm pretty confident in Black Rifle Coffee that nobody's going to do anything to my coffee except for you.
Yeah, and I work for you, so I don't want to lose
maybe
that.
Jamie might do something.
Jamie might.
Could
she's
be bought
got that
off.
weird,
I'm pretty sure
scary,
somebody would buy it.
And you can't trust redheads. They're just crazy.
She's going to kick your ass.
Yeah, I know. She's going to actually beat me up over that one. She's watching. I'm waiting for the phone to text.
Everybody's got their price.
Yeah. So, well, you've already spent a lot of time on that question. They tell you that you haven't had enough time. All right. So, my next question is this. We are almost $30 trillion in debt. 30? I thought the latest numbers was 28 or 29, but it was going to be 30 before the summer is out. $30 trillion in debt. What would you do to reduce the deficit? 60 seconds.
60 seconds?
60 seconds.
I mean, cut non-government waste is insane. Like, what do we really need to... We just need to do what everybody else does and cut the things that you don't need. Like, hey, we don't need to be going skiing. We don't need to go on vacation. We don't need a new car. We need to cut, all right, all the excess waste and just boil it down to what the country really needs. Oh, that's going to piss some people off because their side project is not getting funded. But guys, we're in debt. We need to clean it up and go back to the core. And then as we get on track, can we be doing things, whatever it is? I mean, a museum, some sort of inner city project to help kids, whatever it is. But we need to cut that and go, we can't do that now. Let the private sector fund that museum, whatever it may be. The government needs to just cut the waste, and just look at it from that big picture and boil it down to what we actually truly need the government to be doing.
So as a candidate, you want people to have less.
I don't want people to have less, but
Playing devil's advocate.
the government needs to have less. I mean, they waste money all the time.
Right.
Like, it's ridiculous. Like, hey, like, I was telling my daughter, I'm like, hey, we tried to open a second location 5 years ago, and you're trying as a business owner, and you're putting money in, and all of a sudden you're $35,000 in debt.
Yep.
You got to pay that.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of people like, what? Like, oh, my daughter, like, whoa, like the business was $35,000 in debt. I'm like, well, that location was $35,000 in debt. Like, you've got to pay that. You can't be like, hey, guys, sorry. Geez, it's not working out like we planned. We're not making the money. And that's where, I think sometimes like, man, go start your own business. I think maybe everybody should have to start their own business for, a year and see how it is. I mean, and instead of these big giant companies, I'm not a big fan of like everything's just gotten so giant these days and just giant control versus I like the small town feel and the small town lumber yard, but you got to pay that. The bank's not going to go, oh, sorry, you guys decided to close. Like, what if we decided to close at the end of the lease of going, hey, this is not working. Why sign another lease? And anybody that's in business is going to go, employees are super hard. And we're in a very specialized market that, I mean, I think I had 2, maybe 3 people I were training to be managers that were one was coming from another martial art. Well, I guess he did Krav Maga, but it wasn't our Krav Maga. And another guy had trained a bit at another one. But you're spending a ton of time just training people, and then they decide to quit.
That's
tough. It's a lot. It's a lot for a small business. But I think a lot of these politicians have never actually had a business and worked for themselves. Do something like start a business. Let's see how you do. And that's would be my thing with politicians. Like you're 8 years at the federal level, you're out.
Yeah, there's individuals that have never received a private sector paycheck, right? It's all been government paychecks.
Or actually like, oh, and now you're out, and now you got a book deal, and now your friends are scratching your back because who you are. I'm like, that was easy. Why don't you try to do it like so many other people? So I'd get them out. But what else you got?
I've got 2 more, and this one's going to be interesting. I don't know how you're going to answer this. So there's been a real talk by people out there now that there's 2 types of justice in the U.S. That there's, justice for the ultra rich and then the rest of us to get out. Let's say that. So what changes would you make to the justice system to make sure that there was equal treatment under the law? Go, 60 seconds.
Again, like back to the Epstein thing, that I don't even know how that was allowed, but it was. And from what I hear, that's never been done. So
or at least publicly.
Things get like just brushed away. The media stops talking about it, and people will forget. Let's give them something else to think about. Oh, get on TikTok, get on Instagram. Oh, get them fired up. Distract. Look over here, squirrel. We can't let that stuff happen.
Yeah.
That you don't get a pass. Everything needs to be out there in public. And, if you're sweeping it under the rug, there's a giant penalty. But because of who you are, you have enough money to get it swept under the rug.
And it just disappears.
It's unfair just because you have money that you can do these things. It's a double standard, and I don't like it. You're a human being, and you did something wrong. You need to be held accountable for it.
All right.
Well, they go to jail just like everybody else, and it's out there. Like this judge just said Josh raped 16 kids, but, he's got enough money.
You've been working
all right,
for
you
us.
can be on house arrest, Josh.
Yeah.
And
you go to the
this
prison.
judge issued this. How do you people out there feel about that? Whatever it may be, I think like in the news, it's back to the news. Report the news instead of just, oh, we won't report that, Josh. Like it was out there. Josh did all these things, but let's just stop talking about it. We won't talk about it.
Yeah.
And people forget about it. And then you're like, what? That guy ended up under house arrest? What?
He got 6 months?
He did what? We need better news and people not like just being accountable. Like give us the facts, people.
All right.
I don't know beyond that. I'd have to think a little bit more on it.
Yeah,
but
yeah, I'm gonna
double
switch
standards
questions.
just because you have money? Nope.
Yeah. All right, next question. I would like you to address the security of the nation on our borders, our waterways, and our national grid system. What changes would you make to make us safer and more secure? 60 seconds, sir. Go.
We have to absolutely secure the border. That's not racist. That's every country in the world is protecting their borders. We need to secure our borders and get it under control. My plan is if you're illegal right now, besides passing a background check, if you're, a criminal back, you're out. But if you've made it over, you're going to have to pay a penalty, whether that's out of your paycheck. We're going to get you legal. You're illegal now. I would make you pay some money. Whatever that is, it's going to be something because you did something illegal coming to this country. We need to mandate electric companies, the power companies to protect our grid. There needs to be legislation that they're actually doing something to protect malware from a solar flare to EMPs, dirty bombs. They need to be held accountable, but we absolutely need a strong border. And, there's not a lot of people coming, I think you said waterways, but, of course, having a strong military and protecting our country. That's what makes us a country. We have to do that. I mean, it's the argument of like, well, you have a fence. I don't understand. I think it's just narrative for one side to say you're racist and nobody wants to be racist, right? Oh, you said I was racist. I'm backing away. I'm like, I'm done. I'm not a racist. Shut up. Like, if you're going to call me a racist, you've got some other narrative that you want to keep the border open. I don't know what it is, but I don't think it's a good one because I can't just cross the border into Canada.
No, not anymore.
Probably more than 60 seconds, but that would be my 60-second answer on that.
Yeah, you would get deported out of Mexico so fast.
Yeah,
they do. They'll arrest you.
You can't. You can lease land in Mexico. I can't go and buy land as a foreign citizen. I don't know why China's allowed to buy land in the United States.
All that farm country.
It's ridiculous, people. We need to change stuff, and you need to get your head out of your butt and get your head out of Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, whatever thing you're addicted to. And do something. We need to talk about this stuff instead of burying your head in the sand
and putting your nose in there. All right, next question. This one's going to be a little tongue in cheek, but it has been in the news lately, and the government is starting to warm up to the idea. So, what is your stance on the current UFO UAP phenomenon that people have been seeing? Do you think the government is doing enough? And if so, what kind of protocols would you have in place to deal with another sentient species that has arrived at Earth or has lived here and we don't know about it? 60 seconds, go.
60 seconds? Oh, gosh.
All right, I'll give you 120 on that one. You don't follow the timer anyway. I want to hear it.
Look, I think we're just like, be nice people. Be nice. Don't shoot a missile at them. They're probably way more advanced than we are. But, I think people could panic. I definitely think there's higher life forms, and that gets into a whole nother thing. And I think a lot of people...
It's all the podcast, right?
Would be pissed off at me of like, what is the higher power? Is it God? Is it an alien?
Woo! That's a button pusher.
People are like, what? Oh, it's God. I'm like, hey, I think, humans through history, and if you look at the connections of different religions, and people really feel there's something bigger, and there's got to be something bigger than us, and that they believe in a higher power. I'm like, I don't care what you call it. Do I think there's something out there bigger than us? Absolutely. I mean, what is God? Like, what is
What
God?
is God? Yeah, that's
Is it an like? Is it an alien? Is it, does he come down in the form of man? I don't really know, but I definitely think there are aliens out there where, and there's lots of stuff out there. If you look, I think there are, but I think we need to be good, solid people and do what's right. Because do they really want to mess with this little ant over here? And they're like, why are you bickering over this stupid stuff and racial divide and all this stuff people get caught up
yeah.
in, and pissed off of, oh, this celebrity did this or whatever, and these stupid shows, and people get distracted with, and they're like, oh gosh, look at this little life form. Oh, they've made some battery powered
Yeah.
cars. That's awesome, but they seem like a real low level.
Yeah,
So,
I
think
think
they're
that
out there, and I think, again, to go to spirituality, I'm like, what is God? I don't know, and you don't know either. And you can believe there's something out there and follow a code of just being a good person. That's what most, like, pretty much every religion is when you boil it down to it. Of
for the most part, yeah.
like,
Moral
be a
code.
good person, and that's what I try to do, and just try to be a little bit better every day. So people will panic, though. They could freak out, and I understand
Yeah.
why the government will, not say something about a power grid attack, and because they want to strengthen the power grid, against people shooting at transformers or whatever was going out there in California a couple years back that didn't get reported on for like a year.
Yeah.
I understand the government, like, there is a degree of we need to protect the people, but I think they're definitely out there.
So, for the last 60 seconds, let's just go ahead and tell our viewing audience why you deserve to be president. Why should they vote for you? Go ahead, go.
Nobody really deserves to be in charge of all the people and make these. I think a lot of people run because they want the power, and they're just looking out. I'm just like, man, the country's going down. We need people that just want to do right by mankind, and that's across the globe. The president of the United States has just such global influence that I don't think anybody really deserves that job. But I'm not seeing anybody that really has true motives running for that job and with that mindset that let's just do what's right versus, ooh, I want more power. I mean, like, truly, like, who really wants the scrutiny that people are going to put you under just to destroy you? Because you see plenty of candidates get destroyed. They might have been the best one, but people with more money are dominating. I mean, what did we say a couple weeks ago? 320 million, whatever it was. Was it billion?
Billion to the B.
It's insane. Like, seriously, you need that much money to run for the president of the United States? It's just cutting out what?
Yeah.
Like 99.9999%
They're willing to spend that much money on their
of the
campaign.
people to run. I mean, again, there's this political reform of how much money is being spent and the control of media and Facebook and Twitter, that private companies are really controlling the narrative. We've got to change this, people. We need to, like, a grassroots, and that's what I feel like my thing is, because it's a far-fetched idea, but some ideas are started by, like, whoa, it's a long shot. Hey, share this out on social media. We need just a better choice out there than these people and what their ideas are. Besides, I want to stay in and get my presidential library and
Yeah.
get book contracts and college deals to come and speak and all this stuff. I mean, get back out there and get back to the business that you started and be a real person. So I don't really think anybody deserves to have that much power. And I think that's what's great about the United States, that it is set up in a great way that we have balance. So I don't know. Review, share this with a friend. Josh should take some clips out there of this and put it out there on, and we don't even know. Is it Clear Sky? You know, it's life, martial arts, fitness. There's just so much out there, guys, that I'm passionate about, but I'm really passionate about mankind. And that's where my career path that I switched from a general contractor on Nantucket Island to moving out to Colorado to run a gym full time. I love empowering people, and I think that's what we need to do in our government. Empower people to do better across the board. So, hey guys, thanks for joining me. If you made it this far, I don't know. I guess you like us. We appreciate it, but really share it out with a friend, or better yet, just have a conversation with a friend, and let's get some people motivated to actually vote on core things. People that are willing to make a change and have conversations and not get like, just have a conversation, guys, without getting mad, versus what a lot of people go, I don't want to talk about that, or I don't know. Get out there, use the internet, and make multiple searches, fact check yourself multiple. Just because it says fact checked, it might not be. So get out there and talk to people and do something. All right, get off your butt, do something. All right, exercise, have a conversation. All right, guys, I'm out.